Hey, it's me, your boy, Delusions Edits. Ran out of inspiration, so now I'm making Sony Vegas tutorials. These tutorials are mainly going to be for any Sony Vegas user, but I'll be making some anime editing specific tutorials in the future. Alright, to start off with, we'll be going over the project settings. The project settings are used to show the FPS of your video, the resolution, and all this other stuff. It's pretty important to get that right, otherwise you'll have issues when you render or in the preview window. So to change them if you already have a project, to change it you can click the cog up here, and then, but if you're making a new project you can create file, new template, name doesn't really matter, I'm using this as my base. Width and height, that's the resolution. The field, most of the time you're not going to mess with this, I'd leave this alone. I'm not 100% on what it is, but I know you don't really need to change that. The frame rate depends on, and I'll show this later, you can adapt it to whatever you're editing. It kind of depends on what you want to render as. So if you're making a YouTube gaming video or something like that, you've recorded it in 60 FPS, pop 60 in there and you're good. But if you record it in 30, or maybe you record it in 720p, then you change the resolution, you change the frame rate. Once again, I'll show you how to do that easy in a faster way. This stuff, sometimes you can change this in edits and things like that. It kind of depends on what you're doing, but for the most part you'd leave that alone. So the main things you change: frame rate, resolution, and then potentially this, not really this. Alright, so the method I was talking about earlier, which was the faster way to change the project settings, you can do that by either dragging files like images, videos and stuff into your project media. I'll explain more on that later on all these tabs, but for now, if you drag something in, you move it into the timeline, it'll give you this prompt, um, and I wouldn't advise taking this because you should change it for each time depending on what you're doing. But basically this will match the media, so it will change the project settings to this resolution for the video that you've put in, and the frame rate and settings like that. So if I now go to the cog, see it's 720p and it's 24 FPS film, and it hasn't changed anything else. So that's the easier way of doing it, rather than going through and doing it manually with this. So that's the way I would advise you to use. Alright, now that I've confused you with that last clip, I'll explain these tabs down here, but first you can do this too if you want. If you've changed it, I'll be changing my project layout, sorry, it's in view, project layout to match the default one rather than my change one. So when you first get Sony Vegas, it'll look like this. Now, I never use this. It's like, I believe you edit media like this in there. It's kind of weird. I've never really used it or needed to use it, so I got rid of that. So I closed that, and then that won't open again until you go back into your view and put it back on. And I widen up the preview quite a lot, a bit like that, and that's pretty much what I do. You can adjust whatever layout you want. That's just the one I use. So now that we've done that, we have all these tabs at the bottom here. Sorry if my camera blocks anything, I'm not intended for that. So the project media is where you put all your files, like say I wanted this video, or not, because that's the one I'm recording now, this video in there, and so that's something I'm going to use in my project. And I'm going to use, I don't know, like maybe a green screen or some audio. You drag it all into there, and then you can drag it into the timeline from there. Or alternatively, if you just drag it straight into the timeline, it'll add it here anyway. So that's what the project media is. Then the Explorer tab is used to find this media without having to open a Windows Explorer menu and things like that. So if I want to find pictures, I could go into different folders and do things like that. Uh, I'm. It's probably easier to use that. I never really use it. I still leave it there just in case. But mainly I use the Windows Explorer for that. The Transitions tab is pretty self-explanatory. It holds all your transitions, so by default you'll have these transitions, which you can then drag onto videos and things like that. It's just where they put all the default transitions. They can be customized. Stuff like that is plain as day, really. Then you got the video effects, which is the kind of as simple as transitions. Is where you have all the different effects you can put on videos to change them and things like that. Stuff like blurs and light levels, color curves, all these different things. Put them onto the videos, and you're good. So that's where you find all those. And then media generators, simple as you basically you won't get much to start with. This is all the stuff you start with in Sony Vegas without plugins. You just get a few things you can drop over the videos. Mainly, I mean, if you wanted a solid color, you wanted an actual animation for like text, you want a checkerboard, you want some patterns, you just drop it in, and it's basically, it acts like you've put the media into your project media, but in reality it's just come straight from Sony Vegas. To finish up this episode, I'll just show you the preview window and the basics of the timeline. It's not that complicated really, but something you kind of need to understand. I should just use Sony Vegas in general. So if I add this, which I was using earlier, drag it in, then right, I should probably explain what I did there. Right, so I dragged it into the project media, then dragged it into the timeline. This whole area here is the timeline. These things are tracks is what they're called. This is a video track, and the level on this is just the opacity of this video. Then this is an audio track. When you bring in a video like this, it comes with audio, so you'll have, see where I'm hovering over, it comes over the video track and the audio track. So you've implemented audio and the video from that project media. The volume is decided with this slider, or you can double click it, put 0, or this, which is the same thing pretty much. And then pan, that's like left earphone, right earphone, volume manipulation. Same goes for the video, where you can change the opacity on the slider or like this. Now on the timeline, if you use your scroll wheel on your mouse, you scroll in, make this stuff bigger, and you see less time frame. You can get really close in like this. So move frame by frame, you can use the arrow keys. It'll go frame by frame, which is the smallest amount you can move at a time, or you can use these buttons to go frame by frame. Alright, so on the timeline, videos, or you can use the top left corner, and your mouse would look like this. For the fade in, you click, hold, drag to the right, and however long you drag it for, this whole section now ish will fade in. So it'll start from black, fade in like that till it ends, and then you can drag it back. Same goes for this corner, but it's fade out, so it'll start in with the video and then fade out to black. So that's the basics for the corner manipulation things on that. On the bottom right of the video, you'll see the pan and crop tool. You click that, you can see it's, well, I'll probably make a whole video on just the pan and crop tool and how to use it, but for now just know that's how you open it. And the same goes for the video effects. I'll be making videos on how to use some of these, but with the video effects, if you just go into here, say you want this on, double click it, okay, and it will add it, and I don't want that. So that's same goes for the audio, where you can click that, double click or whatever, click OK, and then cancel. I don't actually want that. And so that's kind of the timeline. To select something, to either render or preview, you just click hold. Easy as that. When you play it, it'll play that section and stop at the end. So if I play that, start here, end here. If you loop it, then it'll play that section, repeat from the start, play that section, and stuff like that. Oh, and to move this around, this flashing I'm colorblind, black cursor marker, whatever you want to call it, you don't drag this. There's a mistake everyone like makes at the start. If you drag this and I put the sound on, you'll listen to this. You don't want that, so drag the flashing black bar and just move it around like that. It'll save your ears and a lot of time because this moves at a certain speed. Like if I try to move this as fast as I can, that's as fast as it'll move, but with this it literally moves with my cursor. So at the bottom here we have play from the start, pause, stop, back to the start, go to the end, back a frame, forward a frame. This is like the tool, because the cursor counts as a tool, so just clicking stuff and stuff like that. I've never really used any of the other tools, but like I said before, depends what you're doing, you might need to use it. Stuff like this, it's buttons to do things that you could do yourself anyway. So for example, if I wanted to split a video, you could press S and it'll split. But if you wanted to just press the button, you can do that, it's fine. So lock in a video, I'm not really sure what that does. Yeah, so you can't edit the video basically. These are markers, you can place them by pressing M or clicking the button. You can name them as well, whatever you want. Depending on what you're doing, you might want to use that. Not sure what this is. If I hover over it, will say insert region. Oh, so you could mark like this section of the video and say this is something and things like that. The snapping tool basically means if I drag this around and things like all the other videos, it will snap like that to the end of clips. This allows overlapping videos, so if I split this and I wanted to fade it, we could overlap and it will crossfade. That allows you to do that. And the rest of these you don't really need to know. Alright, and then we move on to the preview window. So the preview window is pretty simple. This button will put the preview window, basically the whole thing, onto another monitor. So if I were to click this, I mean you guys can't see it, but it's now filled up my other monitor with just what's in the preview. It's pretty good for having a closer look at whatever you're previewing. The video output effects, you don't really need to use that. I'm pretty sure it just adds effects onto the preview specifically, not the actual media down here. This, not entirely sure what this is. If I hover over it, split screen view, I don't use it, so you guys can do whatever you want with that. This is the preview quality. Best full, I think, is the best quality, hence why it's called best. Good, as you know, it's a bit below that. And you have half, quarter, full, auto. I usually use draft or preview half when I'm editing things like this, because there's a lot of video effects, which means if I preview it in best full, it's gonna lag or it's not gonna play properly, it's gonna be delayed. So which is why you need to turn the quality down, but you might have a beefy PC, so you might not have as much of an issue with that. This, not entirely sure what this is. These are pretty self-explanatory. You can screenshot whatever's in the preview or copy it. That's basically it. You can right click and change things like background and stuff like that, and all these different settings. Not really much you'd want to change there. This is the audio. Don't really need to mess with this. You can even get rid of it if you want. It's a bit pointless, to be honest. One thing I forgot to mention is the ability to add audio tracks and video tracks, as well as if you press M on a video track, it'll mute the sound. If you press M on the if you press M on the audio track, it'll mute sound. If you press M on the video track, it will like make it disappear, set the opacity to 0 or whatever. That's basically what those are. These other settings, Might go through them in another video, but for the most part, you don't really use them. Alright, so that's it for the end of the video. If you enjoyed, then drop me a like, drop me a something, let me know, and I'll be making some more specific videos later on. So I think the next episode will probably be using the pan and crop tool, and then maybe the video after that, some transitions and things like that. Probably edit based transitions, but transitions you could use for anything.